How can a single phone call between two world leaders ignite a public diplomatic firestorm? Well, it starts with a media report, and then a very sharp, very public rebuke. Today, we're going to untangle this tense exchange, because it exposes so much more than just old rivalries. It gets to the heart of how incredibly difficult it is to fight crime that doesn't respect international borders.
And that right there, that was the message from Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet. Now, this wasn't some private diplomatic note. No, this was a direct, public criticism aimed squarely at his Thai counterpart. A very clear line in the sand had just been drawn. So you have to ask, how did we get to this point?
Right, so this was anything but subtle. This wasn't a quiet note exchange behind closed doors. Cambodia made its position known loudly and clearly. They wanted to make sure the message was heard not just in neighboring Thailand, but by another key regional partner as well.
And you know, the way he sent this message is almost as important as the message itself. Prime Minister Hun Manet didn't use the typical channels. He relayed it through a visiting South Korean official, asking them to pass it directly to their president. The subtext there is just impossible to miss, right? Cambodia felt it was being discussed behind its back, and it wanted to shut that conversation down immediately.
So what on earth could have provoked such a strong and public reaction? Well, the answer lies in a conversation that happened just one day earlier.
All right, let's trace this fire back to its spark. The very first official phone call between the new leaders of Thailand and South Korea.
So if you look at the sequence of events, a pretty clear picture starts to form. First, before the call even happened, the Thai Prime Minister publicly signaled his intent to bring up the issue of crime in Cambodia. Then the call takes place. And right after, Thai media reports confirm that, yep, an offer was made to cooperate on tackling these online scam syndicates that are based in Cambodia.
And it's really important to get the context here. This isn't some minor problem. For a while now, international pressure has been building on Cambodia to crack down on these huge online fraud operations running out of its territory. We're talking about syndicates that have victimized people all across the region, including a lot of people in South Korea.
And this brings us right to the heart of the conflict. From Thailand's perspective, this was a totally logical offer of regional cooperation. Let's fight a shared enemy together. But from Cambodia's point of view, it was seen as a massive overstep. It looked like one neighbor discussing its internal problems with a third party, and that was perceived as a totally unacceptable form of interference.
Now, to truly grasp why Cambodia's reaction was so fierce, we have to look beyond this one phone call. This sensitivity is deeply, deeply rooted in a long and often troubled history with its powerful neighbor, Thailand.
The two nations share a long border, but it hasn't always been a peaceful one. This shared geography is really overshadowed by a long history of conflict and mistrust that still shapes their entire relationship today.
And listen, we're not talking about ancient history here. In recent memory, border disputes have erupted into serious military confrontations. One clash involved a fierce 5-day battle, with both sides deploying heavy weapons. We're talking everything from fighter jets to rocket launchers. When you have that kind of history in the background, you can start to understand why Cambodia is so fiercely protective of its sovereignty, especially when Thailand is involved.
So all of this left South Korea, the other party on that phone call, in a really difficult diplomatic spot. Let's take a look at how Seoul officially characterized the conversation.
So what did South Korea do? Caught right in the middle. Well, its press briefing was a masterclass in diplomacy. The president's office focused entirely on the positive stuff, strengthening bilateral cooperation, moving forward on a major economic partnership.
But the most telling part of their summary was what wasn't in it. In stark contrast to the Thai media reports, there was zero specific mention of the Cambodia-based scam issue. Now, that wasn't an oversight. It was a clear diplomatic signal that Seoul wanted to de-escalate the tension and avoid being pulled into a regional dispute.
This whole incident, sparked by just one phone call, perfectly illustrates a fundamental challenge in our world today. As criminal networks go global, the need for international cooperation is greater than ever. But it forces this really difficult question: how do nations work together to solve these borderless problems without crossing that deeply sensitive line of national sovereignty? In this case, it's pretty clear there's no easy answer.